Hello and welcome to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan. On the show tonight, we're in conversation with two entrepreneurs, one from the beauty and skincare brand and industry. The second is India's leading accessory player. I'm in conversation first up with Pilgrim. Also on the show tonight is Bagzone with their Lavie range of products. Anurag Kedia of Pilgrim joining us here live on the show. Anurag,
thank you.
So good having you here. You're making your debut with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Let me kick this off first by talking about your own unconventional journey, if I can call it that. So first, let's talk about the fact that I understand that you are a chemical engineer. You went on to set up a range of spas across the country, and now, of course, there is Pilgrim, the brand, which is a leading beauty and skincare company. Help us understand what made you take that transition.
So over the course of last 10-12 years of my career into beauty and wellness, I had the opportunity to speak with more than 5,000 consumers. And there were a couple of changes which I was observing in the consumer preferences. The first big consumer is what we call as conscious consumers. What this means is consumers of today are asking for cruelty-free products, vegan products, environmentally sustainable, plastic packaging can be avoided or should be recycled, so a plastic positive experience. So and then free of toxic chemicals which have been traditionally used in beauty products, which we call as toxic 20 at Pilgrim. So this conscious consumers is a big trend which we observed. The second big trend we observed was what we call as disruption of the dressing table, which means that earlier if consumers were using one or two products for their skincare or hair care, now they are using multiple products in their daily regime, which could start off with a face wash, then a toner, a moisturizer, some serums, a sunscreen. So 5 to 7 steps have now started entering the vocabulary of Indian consumers. And this is again a big change. So this is what we call as disruption of dressing table. And third is what we call as #explorer. What we mean by this is consumers of today are asking for the best of beauty ingredients from around the world. And this is why Pilgrim was born. We also think technology and analytics are a very big part of this entire offering, and which is how when I met my co-founder Gagan, who comes from a data and an analytics background, we instantly clicked and we realized that an offering like this could be offered to the Indian consumers.
Why the name Pilgrim though, Anurag? Curious to understand that.
So as a brand, we are all about our consumers. So when we identified our consumers as what we call as #explorers, which basically means that consumers want the best of beauty experiences from around the world for their skin needs and hair needs. We realize that we will be traveling across the world to collect beauty secrets, to collect beauty ingredients from all over the place. Pilgrim, as the brand name suggests, is a truth seeker, and that's what we are doing in the domain of beauty, going from place to place to collect beauty truths and bringing it to the Indian audience.
The initial days for any brand, which is in any business, is challenging, but you are associated with an industry where trust, because people are putting things on their skin, they're taking things for their skin and for their overall well-being. How did you ensure that in the initial days you were gaining their trust?
In the early days of our brand, consumer trust is not easy to come by, and hence there are certain cues or signals we can give to the consumers when the brand is not very well known. So what kind of imagery is there on the different channels or on our website? Are we able to demonstrate the different sensorials in the best possible manner? What is the kind of communication which is there? What is the kind of packaging which is there? So we tend to think of this in terms of consumer journey, right from the time the consumer discovers the brand to the point where they decide to make a purchase, the delivery experience and the experience post-delivery. That entire consumer journey has to be taken care to gain consumers' trust. With time, of course, there are more reviews and ratings which start appearing, and there's also word of mouth which we rely on.
Not just that, you also launched a business at one of the toughest periods in history, which is during the pandemic, at a time when there was just so many concerns about going out, and therefore touch feel products like yours perhaps took a bit of a beating, but that's when you decided to launch. What was the reasoning behind that?
You're right, there is a lot of sensorial play, there is a lot of physical touch and feel which has traditionally been there in the beauty sector. What we have tried to do is solve it through technology and innovation to the best possible, which will mean that we have used texture plays, we have used very real consumers and real influencers to communicate how they felt when they tried the product for the first time, and this is how we have managed to connect to the consumers and explain what the product had to offer.
Anurag, for a majority of Indians, skincare is seen as something which is a luxury, it's not really seen as a need. Would you agree with that? And if so, is there a bifurcation between customers and their preferences for those who are based in tier 1 markets, those who are based in tier 3, tier 4 markets? How are you perhaps overcoming that challenge?
So I think, this conception of skincare being luxury is slightly dated to my mind. This has been changing over the last few years. Especially in the pandemic, there has been a big change in the mindset. So like the way we take care of our body through exercises, or we take care of our mind through meditation or pranayam or through leisure activities, our skin and hair also need care to be healthy. And that is what skincare and hair care deliver. And this we have seen in a change in a very big way. And consumers are thinking about their skin and hair care very holistically these days. What is their lifestyle? What is the sleep patterns? And what is the kind of nourishment and skincare products which they are using, and hence we think this is already changing in a very big way. Incidentally, 2/3 of our business already comes from tier 2 and tier 3 towns, and we are very proud of that fact. We serve more than 20,000 pin codes across the country, and how we manage to reach out to a large part of our consumers is by using multiple languages.
By interacting with your customers very heavily on social media and building this culture, building this trend, you've created this brand narrative which is very powerful. And Anurag, my question to you is, if through this interview, just help our viewers understand a little more about how they too can perhaps go about creating this entire ecosystem for themselves.
I think brands have undergone a huge change, their tone of voice and the way communication was done in the past. If you go back, a couple of years or maybe a decade, what we call as brands were monologue brands. And what we mean by this is, brands were used to a one-way communication where brands were the experts and they would tell the consumers what the consumers needed. And they would then, do a one-way communication with the consumers. We think this has undergone a big change. Now brands have to be dialogue brands. What this means is brands need to talk to the consumers and get feedback on a constant basis. And that's how this entire process of co-creation of products and brands has to happen. And that's how brands of today and future will be created. And this is one learning we have had for any new age brand.
What are the big ideas for the health and the beauty and skincare industry, Anurag? What do you want to leave us with?
So like we were discussing about, the long tail needs of consumers, which basically means unique and niche needs. So there could be consumers which have a very specific need which may not be a very, very large part of the market. Now this kind of needs in the past were not getting served or underserved because distribution was only offline, and hence if a product did not make commercial sense to be distributed across a few million outlets, that product never existed. Now we think this is changing in a very big way. A long tail product strategy is possible where even if it's a niche product, it can exist online because the warehousing is centralized and it need not be distributed across millions of outlets. And hence we think very niche and unique needs of consumers will be getting served. That is the first thing. The second thing is what we spoke about, which is a dialogue brand where consumers and brands will interact on an ongoing basis to co-create the entire brand and product strategy. The next thing is on the R&D and innovation. As a brand, we are very heavily focused on R&D and innovation. We will be continuously launching new products to delight our consumers. And the last thing, especially for the coming few years for us, is offline presence. We are expanding our offline presence and we will be available at a store near where the consumers reside.
All right, Anurag, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sunanda. Thank you so much.
I'm going to slip into a short commercial break on that note. On the other side, I'm in conversation with Bagzone, more popularly known for their Lavie range of products. We're back in just a moment. Welcome back with us here on IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. I'm in conversation with Bagzone. Ayush Tainwala of the company joining us here to talk about Bagzone. Ayush, good having you on the show.
Thank you, Sunanda.
Ayush, maybe you want to kick off today's interview by talking to us about why you decided to venture into the accessories and the bags market.
So we ventured into the bags category around 2010-2011. My mother at that time felt that there was a big difference in the quality of the bags and accessories available to women in India versus in other parts of the world. And she really started with that thought in mind, that how do we really create international feeling and designed handbags, but make them affordable for an Indian audience. Today, nearly a decade later, I think, with her insight and kind of staying true to that mindset, we've become India's largest handbag brand, across multiple points of sales.
Could you share some insights on just the size of the bags market and industry here, and what trends perhaps are you foreseeing there, Ayush?
Consumers are getting better educated and more demanding than ever before. Whereas earlier they had less options, less choices. Today, unless they're 100% satisfied, they will not do business with you. On a more specific level, I would say that India is just starting its consumption story. Women are starting to work in India. Women are starting to lead independent lives and have far more purchasing power, and that is leading to an extraordinary rise in women's accessories and handbag type of categories. Along with that, more specifically, we see that government policies such as GST and other policies have leveled out the playing field between people who are fully compliant and people who are not so compliant, which is kind of giving people like us a big leg up.
How is Lavie differentiating and differentiated from its peers, Ayush? If I was to ask you, that question for you to talk to our viewers to say, this is how we are communicating also our USP, what would you say?
I think at the core of Lavie is our design language, and like I said, we started the brand with the feeling that we really want to deliver a truly international bag, something that could be made in France, could be made in Italy, but delivered to consumers at a price point that they can afford. So our designs are truly unique. We have very, very colorful color palette. We have some timeless silhouettes and some fresh textures, fresh colors that come in every season. But at the same time, we're very, very affordable. So we typically price our bags between 1,500 to 3,000 rupees. Which is something that the average working Indian woman can afford to purchase. We do believe that Indian craftsmanship is extremely good. So we follow a model of getting the best raw materials from across the world, India, China, Europe, combining them with our skilled craftsmen in our own state-of-the-art manufacturing facility, and we look to deliver that to consumers at a very, very affordable price point. And that is what helps us to stand out in the market.
I want to also quickly discuss Lavie Sport. What can you tell our viewers on that?
So Lavie Sport is our newest brand. It is really designed, and I can give a small anecdote here. I designed the brand largely for myself. I can say that working in an all women's brand, I did not find any products I could use. So it's designed to be extremely functional, extremely stylish, but at the same time durable, lightweight, efficient and affordable. Men want one bag that can do it all, and that's the way and that's the insight with which we've kind of launched Lavie Sport.
I want to take a step back and really talk about the big picture and ask you if you can help our viewers understand your opinion as to why, despite having such a rich legacy, such a rich heritage, Indian craftsmanship, Indian brands are not really being recognized on a global stage. What's holding us back, Ayush, and how can that be rectified? How do you see that perhaps changing?
So I would really look at the question. I would say it's partly true, it's partly untrue. I think Indian craftsmen, especially in the field of embroidery and apparel, get a lot of recognition. The best, most richest fabrics all come from India. Everybody across the world knows that. Even today, look at the Indian luxury market. It is all made in India. Be it Sabyasachi, be it Manish Malhotra, be it any top designer, 100% of their garments are made in India. I think Indian craftsmanship, when it comes to accessories, if I talk like footwear, bags and other kind of softer accessories, is something that we still have to, we really have to kind of catch up on with the rest of the world, Europe, Far East Asia. I think that a part of it has to do with the raw materials, and that's where we get our strategy of getting global raw materials and combining that with Indian craftsmanship. Because truly we do believe that Indian craftsmen are much better than anywhere else in the world, but they need the tools.
How can Make in India, Made in India really make its mark on a global stage, Ayush? What's your opinion?
Made in India for exports, I would believe is a second step, but the first step would be really to make in India for India. And today we do see in the, say, women's accessories market, upwards of 50 or 70% of the products sold would perhaps be imported. I think brands have to really look for the long run, that even though it might seem more profitable in the short run to import and sell, but in the long run, the quality that you can achieve in India, the consistency you can achieve in India, and the predictability you can achieve in India is something that that if brands invest, then we can make that into a reality.
Ayush, I want to talk about omni-channel as a business approach and a strategy. Businesses used to largely be offline, then this entire move where they were largely online. Now you have this O2O, the offline to online sort of a strategy. Your view on that, and do you see this as being more and more well entrenched as far as consumer brands are concerned?
Omnichannel has a very clear value proposition, which is that we can use the same inventory far more efficiently. And when we can use the same inventory far more efficiently, consumers benefit both in terms of assortment as well as quality as well as pricing. So we are really trying to leverage omnichannel in that sense to make sure that how do we really deploy our inventory in the most efficient way as possible. Today we carry over 2,000 SKUs. A typical store cannot carry more than maybe 500 or 600 SKUs, but the omnichannel solution is to give people the option to purchase all 2,000 SKUs from every single point of sale.
Leaders of Tomorrow is working with a theme of ideas for a new India. So when it comes to the accessories market, what can you tell us about the big ideas?
I think there's a few big ideas. One is that technology is still seeping through. India is still, I would say, a few years behind where countries like China or America or Japan are, and we still have to really see the full benefits of the technology coming through, be it in our retail points of sales, be it in the way bags are designed, be it in the way bags are manufactured, or be it in the way consumers interact with our products. So this is something that we're just starting to see the benefits come in, with e-commerce becoming a significant channel for us over the last few years through COVID. This next century or the next 5 to 10 decades are really going to be India's and Indian consumers' century. Consumers are getting very demanding. They know exactly what is available, at what price it is available, from which brand it is available, and how long it will take for them to actually reach it. Consumers are today not happy with having the same bag for all occasions. A woman wants a different bag to go to office, a different bag to go to a wedding, a different bag to go on a picnic, a different bag to carry with her to a restaurant. And the last big trend we're seeing is that consumers start to accept and understand that stuff that is made in China is not really helpful to India as a country. It's not really helpful to them as customers in terms of quality. It might look nice on the outside, but it might be not as strong 6 years down the line or 6 months down the line.
All right, Ayush, so good having you here on the show with us tonight. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Sunanda. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Out of time on tonight's interviews. If you have any feedback for us, our details on your screens. As we speak, as always, it's our pleasure bringing these stories to you. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.